All right, so we are looking at a warm-up on 9a, and it is a warm-up on writing quadratic equations in standard form. So oh, it's right here. Look at that. We want to set it equal to 0, equals ax squared plus bx plus c. That is our goal, and I'm going to remind you that we want to keep the ax squared positive, and that's going to help us later. When you're graphing, if you have a y equals, it can be a negative. But for what we're doing with this, the reason we're setting equal to 0, we want this to be positive when it can. It's going to help us later. Okay, it doesn't matter if the 0 is on the left or the right. We want to do what's easiest for us. We do need to watch like terms. So an x squared is different than an x, and this c is a constant. It has nothing on it. All right, so I'm looking at this first one. I'm going to draw my little line here. There's nothing to do on the left, nothing to do on the right. But I do want to bring this 18 across by doing what? Subtracting it. So subtract the 18. But what should it pair up with? The 4x squared, the negative 3x, or the 9? It should pair up with the 9. All right, so here's my 0 equals. We want to go in standard form. A positive 4x squared, a negative 3x, and then what? Then minus 9. All right, there you go, standard form. Now, these are pretty simple. You're only moving one thing. You could have various ideas to move. All right, let's look at number 2. I'm just going to go ahead and take this 5. If I want to cross the line, I'm going to change the sign and pair it with the constant. So this gives me my 0. Now, if I want to put this in standard form, what should I put first? The negative. It's a negative 2x squared. Now, I talked about making this positive, so we're going to adjust that. Then what would I put next? The x, so positive 0.5x, and then what? My positive 1. Okay, this is okay. I can graph this, but if I'm trying to solve it, it's much easier to factor and use this if this is positive. So you could take everything and you could have flipped everything to the left, which would change the signs, or you can consider the idea of multiplying everything by negative 1. So the 0 would stay. And a negative times a negative would be a positive 2x squared. A negative times a positive would be a negative 0.5x. And a negative times a positive would be a negative 1. This is what we're looking for, folks. All right, go ahead and you do number 3 and put it in standard form and make it a positive x squared. I'll wait. All right, let's see how we did. I went ahead and I just moved this 8 over by subtracting it, and I paired it up with its like term. So I've got 0 equals negative 12. Oh, I don't want to put it in different order, huh? Well, if I put it in the order that I have it, I'm going to move it around. So I wasn't paying attention. So I'm going to rearrange it. This would be 0 equals negative 8x squared plus 3x minus 12. The sign with each number follows it. Now, if we want to adjust this to make it a positive 8x squared, we'd multiply everything by negative 1. So I wouldn't need to show all these steps. Some of you will do all these steps at once. We just don't want to mix them up. So this is going to change all of my signs to the opposite. And that's what I end up with. Well, when we go to do things like factoring, having a positive first term is going to make it much easier to factor. So I want to change this to positive, which means if I multiply through by negative 1, I can do that. I want the x squared to always be positive. Okay. Now, the only reason I can multiply by that negative 1 is because I can do it to both sides because there's a 0 there. If we were back to that generic, and this is important to say, if we went back to that generic y equals ax squared plus bx plus c, if the a is positive, it's positive. If it's negative, it's negative. I can't just go through and change it because I can't change that y value. Okay. So this is just for the purpose of solving it. Now, if you don't want to do it that way, you could have just moved everything to the left. That would have been a positive 8x squared, a negative 3x, and you would have added 4, and we would get the same result. That's what I would do. I would just do some mental math on that.